It's Laura here at Hyperstamper. Hi everyone. I'm doing a redo of a journal that was on Etsy and it was there for a while and I just thought maybe it needs a new cover. So this was the journal that was actually, it's from 1919, this book, and it's an American sort of history of how they saved humanity, World War I. So you can see it's America's War for Humanity, and it's quite a historic book, copyright 1919, and dedicated to the soldiers of America and Canada. So what I did is I covered the original front of this antique book with this postcard from Francistown, New Hampshire, and it's absolutely lovely. It's got these cream and black original printed image, and on the other side is the message on the postcard to a lovely woman in Maine, and it is of course from New Hampshire. And then the original book had this original print of the flag from 1919. So it's a really lovely book, and I added this bangle with glass vintage beads on there and vintage beads here and a vintage button and some lace and trim, and I just think it's lovely. So I'll take you through it again so you don't have to watch both videos. I'll pull the other one down. And this is from 1905, Emerald Isle, and that is a poem about Kate Kearney, and lots of space on the other side for journaling. And it's tucked into this corner pocket with this pretty little embellishment here using the vintage fabric, some vintage pattern tissue, some hand stamping there, a 1950s bingo card. And this is a supplement coupon, and this is quite old. You can see that it was done with a fountain pen here. So I really think that's an awful lot of fun. I like that. And more vintage paper, dictionary pages down here. And I did some hand stamping on the tea-dyed pages, but everything else is authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. Here's a vintage card from when Prince Edward came to visit Canada, and a 1950s Theatre World magazine page there. Lots of fun articles in there. This is a blank ledger sheet. It's not tea-dyed. That's the original aging on there. And that's from the 1920s, and a 1950s pocket made from the postage stamp book. Antique page here. Here's a double sweetheart pocket that I made. And this lovely page here is from an antique book and journaling spot on the back. And in behind there is a page from an 1892 Demarest family magazine with some lovely little images here that people can enjoy, reuse, repurpose. Aren't they beautiful? Nice little story here, and lovely images on the other side. Look at this one. Isn't that lovely? 1890s. That is quite awesome. And on the other side, I've tucked in here a postcard. Look at the bandstand. Very Art Deco, very wonderful. This bandstand was called Wonderland, and you can tell by the type that it is Art Deco era. So that is very early 1900s. And then we have in here a early 1950s needlework magazine, and lots of fun patterns here. And on the back, look at this, for crocheting, how to make doilies. And if you follow me, you know how much I love vintage doilies. I'll tuck that back in, sorry. This came from a log book, a officer's roll book. So that took all the attendance for the officers of the Beacon Lodge. And I just love this, and it's from 1947, that one. It's got all their names in here. Again, all done in a fountain pen on one side, and then in a different kind of fountain pen ink on the other. Look at the little fairies here flying around this little sleeping girl from this children's story. I love it. More antique vintage pages here. Just a little teeny tiny journaling page there with embellishments on it. And this came from a 1938 Paris, France Almanac page. It's double-sided there for the 29th and 30th of January. And this came from a shorthand lessons book from the 30s or 40s. Sorry, I do forget the exact date because I have many of them. This is a little French antique page that I turned into another little hidden journaling spot tucked into this cute little pocket. There we go. Sewing pattern instructions, vintage. And this is a plate from an antique book, an antique history book. It's quite lovely. And that's Germany and Versailles, France. And this is another officer's roll book, page from 1938. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And a Pearl Shop receipt from the 1950s. And a 1920s music sheet, another Pearl Shop, a night watch guard dial, and that would have clocked their shifts. Quite rare, and they've been very popular. People ask for them specifically. And there's a nice little vintage wildflower page from England that I did tea dye a bit. And speaking of requests, you can certainly request any special piece of ephemera that you see that might not be in the journal that you like in my Etsy shop, and I'll just add it if I can, and no extra cost. And all of my journals on Etsy include shipping, so go take a look. Hyperstamper.etsy.com. Now this I love so much. This is the book from the Gilbert, who is Gilbert and Sullivan. This is the Mikado, and this is from the 1800s, 1885. So that is very special, and it's in really, really good condition. So I didn't do anything with it except fold it and put it in here so that you could do what you like with that. It's a beautiful piece. And this is a lovely photograph of a boat, a ship, and that is from the 1920s. A little folded pocket there. A vintage recipe, a pie book. And this is from the 1955 American Road Map Atlas. And this one, St. Louis on this side and Missoula on that side. Did I pronounce that right? I hope so. That is from a botanicals book from the early 1900s. Is that lovely? The photography is amazing. Oh, here we have another map here, Helena and Washington. Another pie page and another vintage recipe card here. Butterfingers and meringues and oatmeal. Please try the recipes if you get the journals. How much fun is that? That is from an Indigenous author book from the 1947, Flint and Feather. And look at this picture from the original book. You might not be able to see it, but these are all the soldiers. It's a wonderful triumph of artistic military formation, and it is stunning. So that had to live with the book forever. And that brings us to the end. So go to Etsy and take a look. Thanks.